Hello friends. Does your inventory look like this after a bunch of monoliths? Does your stash look like this? Unorganized, unoptimized? Or do you spend countless hours organizing your items, putting them into the right tabs in the right spots? Or you just shift click them in chaos like I do? Well, today I'm going to help you arrange your stash, and we're going to show off the tab priority section. The tab priority section is an excellent tool that you can use to arrange all of your items easily, thoroughly, cleanly throughout your entire stash. Today I'm going to give you a quick guide on how to accomplish this. And while it may seem tedious and elongated, trust me when I say it's worth it. So let's just start with a stash tab. Any stash tab will do, and you can buy as many or as few as you need. So what we do is we right click on any stash tab. That's going to open our configure tab window, and we're going to go to tab priority. Under tab priority, you're going to be met with a bunch of menus. Don't let this intimidate you. It's pretty easy. If you have any experience with a loop filter, it's kind of similar to that. And if you don't, I'll run you through this. So up here we can name the tab. Up here we can select our category, which changes which category at top it is. Here we have our tab icon, so we give them cool symbols, and over here we can give them pretty little colors. I like to color code things and I like to give them symbols, but it doesn't really matter as far as the priority system, which is down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this our tab for uniques. Just generic uniques, no LP, nothing special. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in uniques. I'm just going to give it a star symbol. I'm going to give it a nice unique color. And now let's set our priority. So how do we do that? Well, if I want all uniques in here, I'm just going to go here and I'll just select everything. At least gear. I won't select idols right now. Accessories is all your jewelry and such. And then I'm going to go to rarity. Rarity lets me select what I want. I'm going to go to uniques. And now I don't want any legendary potential here, so I'm going to put a 0 on these. And now I have many other options I can do, like class requirement if I wanted to make this class specific. I can do level requirement of items even. I can even go by Weaver's Will, or the faction between Circle of Fortune and Merchant's Guild. What I'll do instead is I'll just hit confirm. Now, this tab will take any uniques. What does this mean? Well, as a demonstration of how this works, I'm going to select a different tab. This is just a random tab, and this is a unique with an OLP. And I'm going to go ahead and hold shift, and I'm going to hit right click. And you'll see it didn't go into this tab. I'm going to do the same here. It didn't go into that tab. What about these gel cores blast knives? Well, you see they're not going in here, but this is where they went. So now what this means is if I were to set every tab in my stash for different items, I could simply shift click everything in my inventory and it would just go to the tabs I want to and automatically arrange them. You can get as detailed or not as you like with this. I personally like to get very detailed, even though it takes a bit of setup, because it makes it easier in the long run for when I want to arrange and find things. And a pro tip here is you have a drop-down menu on the side, so when you're looking for specific items, you can simply type the name of them, and it'll show you the tabs that they're located in. I have a Kestrel in both of these tabs. You can even see all of your tabs at once, and when you're looking at something like sorting exalted items, this becomes much easier. So let me show you what my tab setups currently look like, and we'll run over how I created them. I'm not going to say this is the best methodology, it's just what I did, and I personally enjoy. So I've split them into different categories, though you could probably combine them all into one category, as the categories aren't really necessary if you're using the side menu to just scroll. They just help me categorize things a little easier and put things in places that I want them. Now when it comes to categories, if you're asking what those are, they are free to create. You can create a new category at any time, and you can go ahead and get rid of them at any time. The only thing that does actually cost any amount of money here is adding tabs, and the cost of tabs goes up each time. You can move tabs between categories simply by right-clicking on them and changing the category. So I could move this to any of the categories that I've created. That way you can easily categorize where you want all of your tabs. So let's look at how we created these and what I did. Let's start with my Exalted setup. I have it listed as T7 because my filter picks up all T7 Exalted, which I feel is a very good thing to do with the way Havoc and Redemption runes work, especially if you're playing something like COF, but even in Merchant's Guild, it's very handy because people will often search these out, or you can get very valuable ones for other classes. So what did I do here? I created a filter for each type of item, and I did consolidate some of them like accessories, which I consolidated relics, amulets, and necks, and I consolidated offhands to both catalysts and shields, though I could split these apart, and I might need to in the future as I collect more items. So let's review how we do this. Let's start with the helmets. So I'll show you my settings. If I right click here, you're going to see I added a nice little helmet icon. I had a nice little purple for Exalted, and then we changed everything. We just did type helmet. I went in, I went to armor, I selected helmet, we selected Exalted, and that was all we really needed to do. When doing things like Exalted items, it's very easy, and you're going to get the idea of how easy this is. Like I said, it's not that intimidating once you actually understand it. And hey, you can get really specific with this if you want. Like I said, there's class requirement, there's level requirement, there's even subtypes. This allows you to go into each individual class, or the uniques, or the general items, and just make your own specific tabs for them. That's if you have the gold to have all those tabs, or you want to get that picky with it. Hey, it's completely up to you. So that's how we create our helmet. Same thing with armor here. It's just body armor, exalted, and the right tab. All of these follow the same. The only differences come to things like weapons, where I did have to go in and when I selected them, I selected only one-handed weapons. And weapon 2 is only two-handed weapons. So you select the types you want, and then you go ahead and hit exalted, and it'll just dump exalted in there. One thing I will say is these tabs are getting pretty full. So right here, let me show you what to do if your tab starts to get full and you don't want to try emptying it out. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a new stash tab. I'll put it right between the weapon tabs, and we're going to go ahead and change it. I'll give it another weapon icon, name it here, get our color, and this will be, the naming convention can be whatever you want. This might be a little confusing, but whatever. So here's what you do if a tab is getting full and you just need another tab to take the same function. We're going to do one-handed, all of them, and we're going to change it to exalted. Now this will answer a future question of what happens when a tab is full from me just dumping tons of items into it. Well, if you have two tabs with the same setting, the spillover will just go into the next tab with the same setting. So that's how you set up exalted. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward. As for idles, it's a very similar situation. I can go in here, I can click on this, I can set it to idles, give it a nice little color and a symbol if I want, and then I go down here and I go into type, I go down to idles, and I selected all idles. You can split these up by type of idles, you can split these up by class requirement, even level. It's totally up to you how specific you want to get, though I just dump them all in one and I use a search bar for anything that I want to find. Now let's go into uniques. So I have my uniques separated in a few ways. I should probably consolidate them to make it easier, but I have these dump tabs here for uniques that are just basic uniques. I have it set as a catch-all except for idles because I'm putting those somewhere else, and it's a catch-all of pretty much every unique in the game with no LP. I put the max as 0. This makes sure that only things without legendary potential are dumped in here. And then I just put the rarity to unique. I've got 2 tabs of this because it was getting full and I might need a third if I want to keep these. It's good to save some uniques or just ones you want to play with, especially for alts, different characters, or to cook in nemesis eggs trying to get LP value on them. Now, what about legendary potential? Well, that's its own section. In fact, I have my own entire category for legendary potential where, much like my exalted section, I've split it up into different types. Why? Because I like rerolling legendary potential at the Farsight Turtle, and I like seeing what I can do with these, especially now that you're able to pick a single affix to put on a legendary potential item. It makes them very valuable and fun to play with. In this case, we'll look at the one-handed weapons tab. Right here, we have our settings. We have our setting for one-handed weapons, and we have it set to unique, and all we did here is we just changed it to 1 minimum, 1 maximum. This guarantees I'm only going to get 1 LP items in here. So there we go. Easy enough. I did the same thing here with two-handed weapons. And I did the same thing here with accessories, armor, gloves. And then what do we do about higher legendary potential items? Well, it's the same kind of thing. Same settings, and we go 2, 2. Or you want higher, there's 3, 3. And if I get a 4, I'll make a section for that. Though I don't imagine those will be too plentiful. Even this might get a little full at some point, as I've been saving quite too many of them and haven't gone to a turtle anytime recently. And hell, I might save these, or some of them I might try to sell. But the idea here is that you're setting up your stash for success. You're setting it up for ease. You can have plenty of dump tabs. You can have things where you don't even have affinities that you just manually dump. Things maybe you want to look at, maybe you want to sell on Merchant's Guild. Maybe a tab where you save all the legendaries just for fun to see if there's anything you might use on an alternative character. Maybe one specifically for classes. Maybe one's for all the goddamn Harbinger needles that you get. It's completely up to you and how you want to do that. But the fun part of it is, all I have to do, as we see blank here and in here, is shift click on these things. And well, now they're in. That's an easy guide on how to use these stash affinities, how to get yourself set up for an easy time sorting all of your inventory. This way you spend less time at the stash and more time in the monos, killing stuff and having fun. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you're having a good time out there and collecting a lot of stuff to put in those stashes. I'm Sleepy Cat. I'm tired. Good night.